and welcome to Indian Diplomacy, show on Doordarshan, India's national television channel about Indian foreign policy, India's international relations, and important countries and regions of the world where India's influence is growing. Viewers, this is a special episode where we are looking at an important country from Latin America, Central America to be more precise. This is Panama. Panama is geographically and strategically a key country in the Western Hemisphere. It links the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans. It links South America to Central and North America. And we are going to be talking about Panama-India relations, the importance of Panama in the region, and the outlook for Panama and for Latin America as they integrate deeper with India. And it's a great privilege for me to introduce you to my guest to talk about this topic. It's none other than Her Excellency Janaina Tewaney Mencomo. She is the Foreign Minister of the Republic of Panama who's visiting India and is giving us this exclusive interview. Thank you, madam. Thank you for joining us on Doordarshan.
Thank you very much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
Excellency, you have an India connection. You have written and researched about India and Indian foreign policy in your career. And at a relatively young age, you have become foreign minister. You have this India link at such an early stage in your political career already, and I hope that it keeps growing. Please tell our audiences, what is it about India that fascinates you and has, personally and of course as a foreign minister, what is it about India that appeals to you, and how do you see India from your perspective?
But currently, I'm the youngest foreign minister in the continent, in the Americas. And for me, well, India is my father's land. India is my husband's land. India is my sasural. And I have personally and professionally grown in this country too. So definitely there is a special place in my heart for India. However, in today's world, Panama especially accepts and understands very well the centrality of India in the world. We understand the role that India is playing currently, and we have already historically, Panama and India had relations because Panama has the largest Spanish-speaking Indian diaspora. However, there was a distance, a political distance between the two countries. And today, I can say that Panama has positioned itself as the gateway of India in the continent, in Latin America specifically.
Talking of the diaspora, you belong to the great Indian diaspora, but you have about 15,000 people of Indian origin in your country, and they are thriving in business, in trade, in commerce. They are well known, in the commercial circles and in trading and all these things. So, how would you? And we've seen visuals when our External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, visited Panama City. He had this engagement with the diaspora there, and they seem to be quite like a living bridge between our two countries. Even though we are probably more than 10,000 miles apart geographically, the diaspora there keeps the cultural connection with India alive, and I'm sure you engage a lot with the Indian diaspora there. So your thoughts on the Indian diaspora in Panama, and how important that is as a cultural link with Mother India.
Yes, the migration of Indians to Panama, they stated from the times the railroad was built.
19th century.
Yes, 19th century. Then with the construction of the Panama Canal, many Indians were part of it. I think another part of the migration was probably during partition or after partition. Some communities such as the Sindhis, they travel and they move to trade cities. Panama is one of those, right? And definitely during the 70s also, we had a migration. Some communities such as Gujaratis, we have Sindhis, and there is a Gurdwara in Panama also, besides a Hindu temple. So yes, the community is vibrant, and that's the uniqueness of Panama. Panama is a very special country because historically we have been South Americans. Geographically, it's very clear that we are Central Americans, but culturally, we are Caribbeans. Besides that, all the diasporas and foreigners that have come to build the country have created many groups of vibrant diasporas that living bridge between the motherland and Panama. Therefore, our country and the way we see the world tends to be completely different from many other Latin American countries because we are very international as a country. And we were created with a lot of international elements there. So that's why I think diasporas, not only Indian, but specifically Indian, today is very important. As I told you, the relation between India and Panama has strong momentum right now. And there is no coincidence that there is a Minister of Foreign Affairs from Indian origins.
Well, that shows also your president and his priorities for advancing the bilateral relationship, and we really value that. Excellency, talking about some more concrete specific sectors in which we can advance the bilateral cooperation, you are here in India obviously to advance it. We have heard over time that there are areas like pharmaceuticals, information technology, dairy farming, space satellites, hotels and hospitality, just to mention a few, where there is already existing or potential cooperation between our two countries. So I'd like you to talk about maybe a few of these sectors which you think are of high priority from your point of view, where India can be supportive and can assist.
I think the relation between India and Panama is fascinating, not only because of some interests, some are crucial to security and to the, let's say, the supply chain continuity. However, I think the cornerstone of our relation is common values. Panama is a lighthouse for democracy in Latin America, and India is the largest democracy in the world. I think when countries have common values, the relation is sustainable. Then you understand and you meet the interests. Definitely, India is a producer of good quality medicines. And at the same time, our country is aiming to become a hub for pharmaceuticals production in the continent. As you can see, we are located very strategically. So you can reach Central American market, the Caribbean, and even some countries in South America. Definitely also, we can tell you that technology is very important. Panama, for us, is crucial to become also a hub of technology in the Americas. India, obviously, is an example on that. Our connectivity, I think, the connectivity we have in our DNA is our biggest strength. And I always tell Indians when I meet them, look, don't get impressed by numbers. Panama is a 4.5 million population, but we are the bridge, we are the door for India to influence and to have presence in the continent.
And you have compatible trading agreements. You're part of many blocks in the region, so that then goods that enter your country can then also transit through to elsewhere. But that's the history of Panama, right? As a great transit land for transit.
We have played, that role forever. This is our DNA. We are serving the world, and we understand that our geographic position has established our destiny. The connectivity is very crucial for it. And I believe we are part of SICA, which is the Organization for Central American States. We have good connections with the Caribbean, and also very important and relevant agreements with some countries in South America. So again, definitely, from Panama, you can reach out the continent.
Yeah, so that idea of gateway, I want to take it a little further, Excellency. When Dr. Jaishankar, our External Affairs Minister, was in Panama in 2023, he mentioned the idea of Panama as a hub. He was speaking at the Latin America Business Forum. And I remember he was giving examples of Dubai in West Asia or the Middle East, London in Europe, New York for North America. And he was saying that, Panama, given the kind of, good leadership that it has at present, the reforms and the changes and the improvements, it could aspire to be also a hub for Indian businesses, where we use it as a stepping stone to branch out and to do trade and commerce in the whole region. So on that count, how would you characterize your administration's reform agenda and vision to make Panama that hub? Because we know you have a strong banking and financial sector and all these things, but then Can it be a Singapore? Can it be a Dubai? Can it be a London? Or can it be a New York? Is that, I mean, it's like a grand ambition, but I'd like you to reflect, you represent the country, how far you could achieve something like that.
We're already the hub of the Americas. That's there. Geography determines, as I told you, the destiny of countries. We are a logistic, a hub, air, and also ports. We have many ports in the Pacific and in the Atlantic, very well developed. And at the same time, our airport, the connectivity throughout flight, it's, I think, the best in the continent too. Again, geography determines that. We are already a hub and we have already the infrastructure. What we need to understand about it is that if we only think about Panama, sometimes when you say Panama, people think about the canal, right? Yeah. But we are more than that. We don't only connect the Atlantic with the Pacific, but we also connect the two mass lands of the Americas. Keep that in your mind. North America, South America, and the Caribbean is connected by Panama. So again, what we're planning and we're thinking is to just expand that idea of Panama as a canal, but Panama as a route. You understand? So basically, the connectivity and the route that connects everyone and everything is the concept that could be already used by India. And it's not only used by India. We are already a platform that has been developed. But we are kind of hegemonic in the Panama Canal, the transit of ships through the Panama Canal in the region. For many years, many countries have tried to compete with us, but again, geography determines. So for us, it's just a matter of bringing India to understand Panama and Panama to play the role that has always played in history.
Well, definitely, I think India is going to understand your country more, especially with the high-level, engagements at the ministerial and other levels. Let me now bring you to a geopolitical matter. I mean, generally, this region, Central America, South America, North America, there is this intense, effort to, to try and gain influence over it by major powers. So you have China on one hand, which is a big economic juggernaut, the commercial colossus. But then historically, the United States has had a enormous influence in that region, especially in the security realm. So our viewers would like to understand how a small country like Panama, which has this openness, this natural openness to all sides, manages this China-US rivalry. Because I was reading your white paper on foreign policy, Panama 3.0, and you talk about balance in international relations. And you talk about Panama being a place where everyone can do business. Now, that suggests that you are somewhat non-aligned or neutral, or you don't take sides, because clearly the Americans don't want China to come into their backyard, just as the Chinese don't want Americans to compete with them in Asia, in the Indo-Pacific, or to pressurize them. So how does a small country like yours, whose interests are based on openness to all, manage this conflict or tension between the great powers? And in that context, I'd like you to also talk about where do you see India as a potentially a third, rising power that will become a great power, in due time, and be equal of China and the United States as per the projections. So where does India fit into this Sino-American contest in your neighborhood?
That's a very important, interesting question, and it's very deep, because throughout time, countries keep changing their geopolitical imperatives, right? For Panama, there was a time in which the biggest and the largest and the national religion was sovereignty, to get the canal back from the United States. We got the canal. Panamanians are since 2000 administering the canal. However, we cannot ignore that the United States had 100 years of presence in Panama. In fact, we are the only country in the mainland, in the Americas, in Latin America, where the United States has been for so long, almost a century. So you cannot ignore the presence, the relevance, and the importance of the United States in Panamanian foreign affairs. Besides that, they are our first partner, commercial partner, the first user of the Panama Canal also. And yes, competing with China. Let me tell you one thing. Trade between the US and China has given business to the Panama Canal. So we benefit from trade, from global trade. We understand now in this new white paper that as we have achieved our largest and most important geopolitical imperative, what is next? We are ready to develop more sophisticated relations, to diversify our relations, always keeping in mind that the United States has geographical presence in the Americas, that we are close partners and we have a symbiotic relation, not only in security, but in many other aspects, culturally also.
And the democratic values that you mentioned.
Democratic values. So again, aligning with countries with similar values is very important for us, but we are a country that has been driven or has given special importance to geoeconomics and trade throughout time. So for us, being pragmatic is very important too. India is very pragmatic also when crafting foreign policy. And we understand that very well. Now, India plays a very interesting and unique role here. And as I told you, not only pharmaceutical or maybe the IT. India and Panama have one common interest that is crucial for both countries: open supply chain lines. We have the same values also and the same goals. So this is something that we, as a custodian of one of the most important choke points, maritime and fresh waterways, consider of the interest of India, because India is expanding. India is becoming, and it's an emerging power that will play a very important role in new lines and new trade routes that will impact us. So for us, the relation with India and encouraging and championing, supporting and promoting those new trade champions is very important. So we are very clear about the way we want to let's say, craft our foreign policy without ignoring one important aspect, and this is really relevant. Panama has a treaty by international law. The canal needs to be neutral. So how can you be a foreign minister of a country that is not neutral, but as a custodian of a piece of land, a waterway that has to be neutral? Therefore, our foreign policy needs to be very open and at the same balance and delicate. It's not easy, but we are playing the game, so I think we're doing well.
Well, you're an exemplar. Actually, many countries struggle to strike the balance. Excellency, let me take you also to one more point. A few years ago, when there was this Panama Papers and all this hullabaloo about Panama as a tax haven where people are laundering money and stashing illegal wealth, there was a huge furor, and even in India there was a lot of focus on Panama for the wrong reasons at the time. But I hear, and I from what I have read, you have also over time introduced more transparent practices into your banking system and all that. So and likewise many other so-called tax havens around the world have been forced to clean up over time. So anything you would like to share with our viewers about how the governance of your finance and your banking system has been? You are a hub, and finance and banking is one of your strengths. But what are the reforms under the current administration that you think have made it more transparent or better for clean money to go there?
I thank you for this question, because the Panama Papers was very unfair to the image of my country. The name of the papers was Panama, but in fact, the societies that were involved in this scandal were not, the majority were not Panamanian. It was a very small, very minimal part. But it was a Panamanian law firm, right? I understand, but that has caused a very negative image that not necessarily is true. That also impacted our inclusion in the FATF gray list. In fact, Panama was included in the FATF gray list just before my president, President Cortizo.
This is the Financial Action Task
Yes,
Force.
yes.
Yeah.
India cares a lot about
Yes,
this.
yes.
And in fact, we knew India was a strong ally there because we wanted to show to India how Panama had moved forward and taken bold steps towards transparency. That was very important to Panama. And we came out of that list. So that's the good news. Panama is out of that list. We are trying to we want to become an example of transparency after such scandal. And with that, we are signing and negotiating double taxation treaties with countries that are interested, and obviously trying to exchange quickly the information. The problem when you have this kind of many societies, you need to bring technology to it, right? And one of the important steps we took that helped us to get out of that list was that in the past, you will not know who is the real owner of the society. Now you have to register and you need to know this. So there are no real anonymous societies anymore in Panama. We have already established a new body that is responsible to register and monitor every single person that holds a society in my country.
That's great, and I'm sure that will enthuse a lot of foreign investors because they would want to go to countries which are perceived to be well governed and where they will not fall into trouble as well. But last but not least, Excellency, let me take you up on your journey, because there are a lot of women around the world, young women who want to be in politics, who want to be in government like you, who want to serve their countries. And you have achieved very great success early in your life, and everybody would want to know what is it that you could give as a message, women of India, women of in the world who will be watching this show, that they should aspire for higher office in public life, in politics, and that they should shatter the ceilings, whatever glass ceilings are there. You have done it, and you are an example for them. So anything you would like to share with them about your journey and some lesson or some message for them?
Well, there are many lessons, but to summarize it, public service is not easy for women and for a young woman. You need to prove yourself all the time. The only message I would like to give to women is to not give up. You will want to give up many times because sometimes we're mother, we're wives. However, if you give up, you are leaving the space for someone else that maybe is not a woman. You are leaving your space, the space that has been given to you. So no matter what, don't give up. That's the message.
Don't give up. And any role models who have shaped your thinking about public service and politics? Anybody from your own country or from India or elsewhere who historically have inspired you, about whom you have idolized in your career?
I think women, especially from this country, cannot ignore the role that Indira Gandhi played, in Indian politics. I think that has been always an inspiration for me. Also in Panama, there are many women that were, fighting for women rights, and there are many other in the world. But I want to tell you that every woman in its own place. I can tell you, for instance, my grandmother, my mother-in-law, they are leaders. You can be leader in your house. You can be leader in community. You don't need to be a civil servant you don't need to have a post as a minister. You can impact every single aspect of your life, and you have to play your role and break the structures, the traditional structures sometimes.
Well, viewers, we have just had this really enchanting conversation with Her Excellency Janaina Tewaney Mencomo, Foreign Minister of the Republic of Panama, on a variety of topics, and the core of the discussion has been around the bilateral relationship of Panama and India, and also developments in Latin America and India's increasing footprint there, but also about the role of women in politics. So we've covered a lot of ground, and the phrase that struck me is "don't give up." And for a small, it not only represents her Her Excellency's own career and advice to women, but also for Panama, the small country which faces all kinds of pressures and pull, hauling and pulling from different directions, is still able to sustain itself as a democracy, as a very prosperous country in that region with a high per capita income, and one which is very outgoing and interested in expanding relationships. Let me thank Her Excellency for this wonderful discussion, and we wish that your mission of advancing the bilateral cooperation between our two countries goes successful, and we are able to talk about higher and higher volumes of trade and investment, and also closer cultural and other forms of cooperation. Thank you, madam. Thank you so much for being on Doordarshan.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Viewers, Panama is an important country. Do not go by the size or the population, as the minister just told us. There are some countries with a disproportionate influence in the world. Panama is one such. Do follow what's happening with Panama. Our fates here in India and elsewhere in the world are linked to Panama because of the canal, because of the geography, and because India is rising. And as our External Affairs Minister said, there are going to be no corners on earth where India will not be present or will not be a force. So we need friends, more and more friends, and Panama is a close friend, and let's support this bilateral relationship. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again next time. Until then, take care.